summertime. The sun is shining bright, the beaches are packed with people looking to cool off, and overall it's just seen as the time period to go outside and enjoy everything the world has to offer. That is, if you don't live in Florida. Yeah, I know to the rest of America, Florida is seen as the perfect vacation spot.
We're here at Disney Studios in Florida.
But man, is it terrible to live in the summer. It's hot, it rains almost every day, sometimes we just get destroyed by hurricanes. It gets so humid you constantly feel sticky and gross. Yeah, summertime can be pretty unbearable, but what if you still want to experience the ideal summer vacation while at home with your AC turned all the way down? Well... Yay, video games! Super duper Mario Bombario Sunshine! You either love it, or you're lying. Sunshine is the perfect game to play in the summertime. I mean, that's literally the whole theme of the game. While other Mario games are constantly changing their level themes, this one knew it could make some beautiful water, and decided to stick with that. It somehow perfectly captures that tropical atmosphere. You can feel the heat coming off the pavement, the cool, refreshing water on your skin, and the goop that dirties your clothes. Wait. The goop? The goop! Oh, you thought this was Mario's Vacation Simulator? Wrong! This island's only so beautiful because you cleaned it all up. Oh, you don't want to do that? Well, guess what? Now Mario's in jail and it's all your fault. This is not your vacation. This is the residents of Isle Delfino's vacation because they paid all their chores on Mario! On top of all that, they have the nerve to just start talking normal-ass English now. Like, are you telling me this whole time the Toads have just been talking gibberish? We have to pretend to understand just for the fun of it?
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier.
Now by this point, you've probably noticed that we're not in Kansas anymore. This is easily the weirdest 3D Mario to date. Like, I know Odyssey introduced these ugly LA Noire looking humans, but Sunshine introduced the unthinkable. Water. In this game, you don't just swim in it, drink it, and piss it. You use it to slide, attack enemies, and fucking blast off. Now, I know that water being the gimmick sounds so lame in comparison to jumping across planets and mind-controlling frogs. And honestly, while I don't think this is the best gimmick in the series, I think it's the one that works best with Mario's movement. Man, dude, this is it. This is the one. The controls are so tight and snappy, it's easy for beginners and so much fun to master. There's so many different moves Mario can perform. And I know a lot of people complain about the lack of a long jump, but honestly, I don't really miss it here. I'm constantly using the tools the game gives you to get around, and I feel the ones they give you are more than enough. Now you might have noticed Mario's little backpack. Well, I'll have you know that that is actually the Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dowsing device, aka FLUDD. FLUDD is how you'll use water to your advantage, but FLUDD is also surprisingly a character. Yeah, this little robot actually has a personality, not to the extent of such other characters like Peach and Luigi. But it's always nice to have someone commenting on your adventure. Most problem solutions are to use FLUDD and see how it goes from there, but sometimes... Uh-oh. This is where Mario's Sunshine's gameplay truly shows itself. FLUDD is a great complement to Mario's moveset, but when he's gone, it's all up to how well you can control Mario. Something I really like is how some obstacles seem like they can only be passed by using FLUDD, but if you're skilled enough, you can completely ignore the use of FLUDD and rely completely on Mario's moveset alone. Pianta Village is a great example of this. There is a set path you can follow, but honestly, I don't think I've ever seen someone follow it on their first try. I know I didn't. I tried walking across this fence very carefully. Oh shit! The level design here is amazing. Not only do they work as massive playgrounds to explore, but they also feel like real places. These are where people live, work their jobs, and go to have fun. It no longer feels like empty wastelands with no correlation to the last level. Now you can see the last level. The world building here is insane, especially for Mario games, where the most world building you'll see is the hub world. But it's not just that each level is connected. The NPCs also make this world feel so lived in. The Piantas, the enemy variety, these weird cat-like seashell things. This guy, it really helps at differentiating this place from all the other Mario locations. Toads are a rarity here. The only ones you see are the ones that came with you. Goombas? I think you mean Strollin' Stews. Mario, quit staring, your racism's showing. I love when games do this sort of thing. As terrible as the new Pokemon games are, that's one thing they've done right. Excluding those dumbass Galoombas from Mario World, the only other Mario game I can think of that has done this was Odyssey. All these years later, and you're still staring, Mario! Stop that! Now I've been praising this game a lot, and everything I've said would probably make you think that this game is really good. Everyone must love it, right? Right? Look, I love this game, clearly, but I'm not blind. This game is a fucking mess. This is easily the most broken and glitchy Mario game to date. Anyone can do these. A fucking baby could do this. While there are a lot of glitches in the game, it never gets downright unplayable. The worst it gets is just the funny kind of glitches. But, funny or not, it does make Nintendo look bad for releasing the game in the state it's in. They never even bothered to patch him out in 3D All-Stars. Apparently the backwards long jump is just too blasphemous to keep in, but clipping under the ground with Yoshi? No, that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that! This game also has a reputation as one of the hardest Mario games. And don't get me wrong, this is one of the hardest Mario games, but it's still baby easy. I never understood how people can think this game has some impossible levels. Like, there is a fair amount of challenge, and there's also a fair amount of bullshit. I think a good way to describe Super Mario Sunshine from a difficulty perspective is to imagine that it's one of those guys from the dunking games you see at carnivals. It's constantly making fun of you for failing, and when you finally succeed and dunk it in the metaphorical water, you know what your reward is? Another one I see a lot of talk about is the pachinko machine one. I see a lot of complaints about it being totally RNG, which, yeah, it is, but you can also slightly manipulate it to get whichever slot you want. Remember, this game is broken after all. And don't even get me started on the sandbird. It flips once. Once! One of the most infamous levels in the game is this one. You have to roll a giant watermelon over this smoothie bar, but if you roll the melon too fast, or if it gets hit at all, it'll explode, forcing you to go all the way back. With how much I hear people complaining about this level, it must be insanely difficult. That's it?! This level reminds me of this one puzzle in Resident Evil 4. Very similar games, I know. It seems super complicated and to some even impossible, but in truth, the solution has been right in front of you the whole time. Just take it slow, go at your own pace, and don't rush it. You know what they say, slow and steady gets the biggest watermelon. The boss fights here are some of the best in the series. These guys are iconic. You see these fights being referenced even in games to this day. They all have an entirely unique gimmick to beating them. They range from simple things like cleaning an eel's teeth to stopping a rampaging wiggler, to mutilating a squid by tearing off its limbs. The manta ray always stood out to me. It splits into smaller forms of itself, and you have to get rid of them until there are none left. I love the atmosphere of this level. It really helps it selling that supernatural sea creature that came from the depths vibe that it's going for. King Boo makes an appearance here too, looking a little different. Just a tiny bit. His boss fight's okay. It's all themed after a casino, which is a really cool setting for any game, but the actual method to beating him is a little too slow for my liking. And I know, I was just talking about how taking it slow is the way to go, but that was just for that level. Now, in case you didn't know, this is a Mario game. So who do you think the final boss is? It's Bowser, except this time you're the bad guy, walking in on this poor guy in the middle of his bubble bath. This is definitely one of the more unique locations to have a boss fight. You have to try and tip over his bathtub all while you're getting shot at with missiles, fire,
green slime!
It's a fittingly weird boss for an already weird game. Alright, now before we continue any further, we gotta talk about Bowser's voice.
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
In the 64 era, Bowser sounded like a dragon. Like he was a legitimate threat. But then, something happened. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Goofy Bowser Zone! I have no idea why this is the voice they decided to go with for Bowser, but I am absolutely all for it. He became a total goofball. I mean, granted, spin-offs have been making him a goof for years, but this was the first time it was official. While we're on the topic of Bowser, let's take a second to mention Bowser Jr. This was his first appearance. In fact, he's the one doing the kidnapping this time. You know, I've gone through this whole video so far and haven't mentioned any of the story. So if you're one of the 8 people that care about the plot in Mario games, then this segment is for you. The story of Super Mario Sunshine is a complex one. One beautiful day, Mario, Peach, and Toadsworth decided to take a trip to the beautiful tropical island paradise of Isle Delfino, Akuna Mahu'u, but are stopped by what looks like icky paint-like goop. Mario makes quick work of the paint-like goop with the help of this little device he finds called FLUDD, and fixes up the runway. He is then arrested for crimes he didn't commit, but the islanders claim he did due to a lookalike that's been causing havoc. Also, Peach knew about this, but for some reason said nothing and instead is all like, objection! And then the judge is just like,
Don't care.
Don't care, still don't care.
So Mario is sentenced to clean up all the goop around the island with the power of the Shine Sprites. Bowser Jr. is revealed to be the Shadow Mario and wants to kidnap Peach because he thinks she's his mama. Do you see the resemblance? Because frankly, I don't. He succeeds in kidnapping her because Mario's just too busy kicking fruits around. Then the dawn of the third day happens and the whole fucking island floods. Mario enters a volcano, rides a boat through lava to infinity and beyonds his way to the top and interrupts Bowser in the middle of his bath. Mario defeats Bowser, spilling all the bath water onto the islanders below. FLUDD dies, and then it doesn't, and now we're singing and dancing. Dun, 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 dun. And that's the game. No more. Run the next segment. Mario Sunshine managed to do something most thought impossible. They made beach music unique. Sorry. The music here is just phenomenal. It's easily some of the best in the whole series. Every track is able to perfectly capture the tone of the level it's attached to. Peanut Park's theme is fun and goofy. Take a load off, go enjoy yourself. It works with the vibe of an amusement park. And then on the other side of things, there's Hotel Delfino's theme. It's mysterious, maybe even a little bit mischievous. It's letting you know there's something wrong here, but you don't know what. It's really impressive how different each song is from each other. Especially when you remember that most of the levels in this game are beach levels. A lot of games go for the generic take on tropical music. Like, yeah, you can immediately tell that this is for a beach level, but you end up sacrificing something that people are more likely to sing in their head and remember fondly for something that's just, yep, this sure is a beach level. In fact, a lot of the games that fall into that trap are Mario games. I think Mario Sunshine and Sonic Adventure are the ones that did it best. They made their tropical music in a way that still kept it fresh and never stepped into generic territory. They kept the tone and vibe of the game and wrapped that tropical twang around it all. I know that there's a fairly large group of people that don't really like this game, but even they have to admit that this game has got some really good tunes. I hope someday they'll stop lying to themselves and admit that this game is actually a great, big mess, but with more emphasis on the great. I remember being obsessed with Sunshine even before I owned the game. Since I had no way to play it, I would go on the Isle Delfino level and smash Brawl and play as Mario and pretend like I was actually playing Sunshine. I was even gonna buy a GameCube just to play the game. Thankfully, around that time, I found out that the Wii could run GameCube games. This was also around the time when GameCube games were still dirt cheap, so overall, I got really lucky here. I remember anxiously waiting for the game to arrive, and once it finally did, I spent that entire weekend playing it. Super Mario Sunshine's a game that means a lot to me, faults and all. I don't know what made me so infatuated with it, but if I had to guess, I'd say it was the cheery and lighthearted mood of the game, the beautiful atmosphere, the fun yet challenging level design, and Bowser's bubble bath. If you think any of what I showed you today looked interesting, consider giving Super Mario Sunshine a try. You won't regret it. Unless you're against emulating. Then you might regret it.
Cause clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean.
It's all lend a helping hand. Mario can't do it alone. He'll spray his water to fly around and clean the sludge that's on the ground.
Cause clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean.